Here's the thing about Marvel trademarks. The studio almost never files them just for legal housekeeping. When Marvel quietly registered the name World War Hulks alongside titles like Nova and Ghost Rider, the internet went predictably insane. And honestly, for good reason. This wasn't some random legal paperwork, this was a breadcrumb, and it was followed almost immediately by a Production Weekly listing that suggested Marvel was aiming to get a Hulk solo film into production as early as 2027. Then insider outlet World of Real reported that Kevin Feige had begun reaching out to multiple directors to helm the project. And the name at the top of that list was George Miller, the man behind Mad Max Fury Road. Let that sink in for a second. The director who turned a post-apocalyptic desert chase into 2 hours of pure cinematic adrenaline might be the person bringing the Hulk back to the big screen. And this connection isn't random either. It reportedly came through Chris Hemsworth himself, who worked with Miller on Furiosa and apparently set up a meeting between him and Feige. Miller has been openly enthusiastic about superhero cinema. He's gone on record saying he watches everything Marvel puts out and genuinely respects the craft involved. He even had a near miss with DC years ago, getting right up to the final stages of pre-production on Justice League Mortal before it was cancelled. That film never happened, and the world never got to see what Miller's vision of a superhero ensemble would have looked like. If World War Hulk gives him another shot at the genre, it could be one of the most important creative decisions the MCU has ever made. Now here's the big picture context that makes all of this feel even more significant. We are coming up on nearly 20 years since a proper solo Hulk movie. The Incredible Hulk came out in 2008 with Edward Norton. Mark Ruffalo took over the role in The Avengers in 2012, delivered some of the most memorable performances in the entire franchise, and yet never got his own movie. The reason is one that Marvel fans have known for a long time. Universal held partial distribution rights over standalone Hulk projects. That arrangement essentially locked the character out of solo territory for years, forcing Marvel to work him into team-up films and ensemble crossovers. That bottleneck has now cleared. The rights have reverted to Marvel Studios, with Universal reportedly retaining only a small cut of box office on any future Hulk solo movie. Creatively, Marvel has full control, and they have clearly been waiting for this moment. The groundwork for Hulk's solo return has reportedly been getting laid for a while. According to insider reporting, Captain America: Brave New World was always meant to serve as a setup for World War Hulk, and that film introduced Red Hulk played by Harrison Ford. Then Thunderbolts was described as a connecting branch for the character moving forward, and now Mark Ruffalo is confirmed to be appearing as Savage Hulk in Spider-Man: Brand New Day. One industry source suggested that Marvel's internal mandate for Spider-Man films, which requires at least one major Marvel character to appear, is being filled by Hulk this time around. With Iron Man, Nick Fury, and Doctor Strange each appearing in prior installments, bringing in a visually transformed, rage-driven Hulk would be a very deliberate statement about where the character is heading. Word is Marvel specifically wants to move away from Smart Hulk and bring back the raw, destructive version of the character. That shift was coming regardless, but seeing it happen in Spider-Man's film first would make the eventual solo movie hit even harder. And that brings us to what World War Hulk would actually be. In the comics, the storyline was written by Greg Pak with art by John Romita Jr. and published in 2007. The premise involves the Illuminati deciding to exile Hulk off-planet because they consider him too dangerous to keep around. They launch him into space, intending to send him somewhere peaceful and remote, but the ship veers off course and lands him on a gladiatorial war planet called Sakaar. Hulk fights, survives, eventually becomes a king, and finds love. Then everything gets ripped away when the shuttle that brought him there explodes, killing his pregnant wife and most of the people he cared about. Hulk blames the Illuminati, returns to Earth, and levels it. He doesn't just fight heroes, he dismantles them methodically, emotionally, and publicly. It is one of the most brutal and cathartic storylines in Marvel history. Now obviously that exact structure won't translate directly into the MCU. Mark Ruffalo's banner is not going to be positioned as a full-on villain tearing Manhattan apart. That's not where this character is in the franchise, but the bones of that story, the exile, the trauma, Sakaar, the sun, those are all already in play. Thor Ragnarok put Hulk on Sakaar. She-Hulk introduced Skaar as Banner's son with zero backstory or development, in a show that most viewers agree did not do justice to either character. The setup is sitting there, half assembled, waiting for a proper film to put the pieces together. The most practical approach would be to open World War Hulk with a compressed but genuinely cinematic look at what happened on Sakaar. Maybe 15 minutes of film covering the planet Hulk beats, establishing Kyra, showing how Skaar came to exist, and giving audiences the emotional context they need. That would fill the gap between Age of Ultron Ultron and Ragnarok that was never properly explained and gives Scar an actual origin with weight behind it. From there, the film can move into its own story, one shaped heavily by the current state of the MCU post-Secret Wars. Because Secret Wars is the key to everything, and multiple sources, including the leaked concept art that surfaced in early 2025, indicate Hulk will be a major presence in that story. That concept art included something labeled Hulk Village, a settlement on what appears to be Battleworld featuring Banner, She-Hulk, and Scar, surrounded by gamma-irradiated beings. This maps directly onto Greenland, a region of Battleworld from the comics that is central to both the planet Hulk and future Imperfect Battleworld tie-in stories. In the comics version of Secret Wars, that setting is also where Maestro operates, and Maestro is where World War Hulk's MCU version gets genuinely interesting. Maestro is not just a Hulk villain, he's Bruce Banner taken to his most extreme possible endpoint. In the future Imperfect storyline, he's a version of Hulk who survived a nuclear apocalypse, lived for over a century in a world where humanity destroyed itself, absorbed enough radiation to become essentially unstoppable, and over all that time lost every shred of compassion. Banner's genius remained, but it calcified into something cold and absolute. Maestro rules the remnants of civilization as a tyrant, and the tragedy of the character is that everything that made Banner brilliant is still there. It's just been weaponized by grief, isolation, and power. He even keeps the trophies of fallen heroes in his throne room, which is one of the most unsettling images in Marvel Comics history. Bringing that character into the MCU opens up a door that no Marvel film has walked through yet. The multiverse has given the studio a tool to reach backward through the franchise's own history, and the most obvious move is bringing back Edward Norton and Eric Bana. Norton's Banner in particular has a compelling arc if you map it onto Maestro, a version of Bruce who never found equilibrium, never achieved Smart Hulk's synthesis, never had the grounding that Ruffalo's Banner developed through the Avengers years. That version could plausibly spiral into something monstrous given enough time and enough loss. If Norton's Hulk is Maestro, the film becomes a story about two versions of the same man at opposite ends of their journey, and it becomes something Marvel has rarely done at this scale. That's the kind of casting move you simply cannot undo. Audiences would go absolutely electric. The title World War Hulks only makes sense if there are multiple Hulks in conflict. The MCU already has several on the table: Banner, She-Hulk, Scar, Red Hulk, Abomination, and with recent rumors, potentially Amadeus Cho joining the roster. Throw in Maestro commanding a multiverse army of Gamma variants, and you have a war that earns the name. There are also persistent whispers about a Hulk versus Wolverine adaptation in development as part of Marvel's Mutant Saga, which could make a World Breakers style army of Hulks the perfect escalating threat that starts bleeding into other corners of the franchise. None of this is officially confirmed. Marvel has not announced a World War Hulks with a release date, a cast, or a director. What they have done is file the trademark, quietly assemble the narrative infrastructure across multiple films, reportedly contact George Miller about directing, and plant the Hulk family front and center in the Secret Wars concept art. The realistic release window is somewhere after Secret Wars wraps, late 2028 or 2029, potentially later if Marvel's typical development rhythm plays out. That's a long wait, but the foundation being constructed right now across Doomsday, Secret Wars, Spider-Man 4, and whatever follows suggests this is not a project Marvel is treating casually. This is the movie that will define the second half of Mark Ruffalo's legacy with the character. And if they get the director right, if they find the nerve to pull in Norton and Bana, and if they let Hulk be the thing audiences always wanted him to be, something enormous and uncontrollable and genuinely frightening, then World War Hulks won't just be a comeback for the Green Goliath. It'll be a reminder that when Marvel actually commits to something, nobody in the industry does it bigger.